Yeah, guys, today I want to talk about cutting, bulking, if you should cut, if you should bulk, when and where and why. And a lot of guys, especially in fat loss contexts, you're trying to reveal muscle that you don't have. I think that's pretty common. I've talked to a couple guys, at least in the last week or so, that are saying they need to lose 20, 30, 40 more pounds, and it's like, dude, why? Well, what are we going to see at 140, 135, you know? And I did it myself 100%. I cut down, and I was like 230, 240, and I went down to like 160, 155. So unnecessary. I could have cut down to 170 and just lean bulk from there. We all kind of get into that mental, emotional, I need to go further, cut calories lower, do 10 hours of cardio. And that's not the case at all. We'll get into I got a few topics here to go over, but it's like, you really don't have the muscle, then why are we trying to cut super low? It's like muscle burns calories, it requires calories. This glare in my screen is insane. Muscle burns calories, it cuts calories, or it allows you to not have to cut calories as low. So if you're a 5'2", 80-pound woman, yeah, you're gonna be eating pretty low calorie to try and lose weight. But you're a 250-pound guy that's 12% body fat with a ton of muscle on his frame, probably don't have to do much to lose 10, 12, 15 pounds. So it's like the more muscle, not only the better you look, the easier it will be to cut. And like where I'm at now, so 220, 210 if I'm like real lean, 230, 240, 15, 14% body fat. So it's like if I wanted to get down to 205, 210, way easier than if I wanted to lose that 20 pounds when I was 180 to 160. You know what I mean? So I'm eating way more food. I have way more tissue on my frame that requires all this. It's calorically dense tissue. So your metabolic rate at rest is much higher, thus you're probably burning 25, 3K calories. I'm not sure, but I think at rest I'm burning like 2,900 calories. Up and down depending on the time of year. If I'm increasing my food, if I'm eating 5, 6 meals a day, then yeah, my metabolic rate's sky high. So I'm feeding that metabolism. That's something I will do in the off season as well with myself and all my guys, is at last, 8, 10 weeks of a bulk, really push the calories up, climb those calories pretty high, not to the point where you're getting lean, maybe a little watery, a little fluffy, but speed the metabolism up, point where you're like, oh my god, I'm eating so much food. Then when you do flip the switch and then come back down, and now you want to cut per se, you cut, half a meal, one meal, you still feel like you're eating in a bulk, if not a ton of food, and you're losing weight all of a sudden because you've ramped your calories up at the end. And you'll squeeze a good 10, 12 pounds of fat loss out of that before you're back at your baseline, if that makes sense. So if you ran up like 3K calories, and then at the end of your bulk you push another 4K, well, now you have that 1K room to lose that 10 to 12 pounds. Whereas if you just pushed up the 3K, stopped your bulk and decided to cut, now you're cutting down into the 2000s or mid 2000s and trying to get those 10 to 12 pounds off. So when you do get those 10 to 12 pounds off, now you're at, 2,200 calories instead of being at 3,200 calories. Not only does it allow you to get much leaner, it's also the difference between staying leaner year round. The further you can push it, the more, adipose tissue you can pull off. I don't know, this is a study. It's like muscle memory. But regardless, most people cut super low and then they're like, oh, why don't I have abs? Do I need to train abs? I'm lean. It's like, well, you have no muscle on you. Your body has no reason to have big blocky abs. You're not squatting heavy, you're not benching heavy, you're not, maybe you are comparatively, but you need to, I'm not saying going to perma-bulk either, but you need to prioritize gaining muscle over losing weight. Especially you're under 25, you really should not be worried about being shredded, getting a six-pack or whatnot at all. Contrary to popular belief, everyone thinks you need to be super lean to make good gains. No, you don't. Your A1C and your fasting glucose and your insulin levels need to be monitored and in good standing. Make sure you're insulin sensitive. And what I mean by that is your A1C needs to be sub 6, sub 6 point. Yeah, I would say sub 6. I like to see a 5.7, 5.6, 5.5. You can definitely drive it lower, but that fasting glucose should be under 95, I'll say. Take a look at your insulin levels in comparison with that to make sure your body's not pumping out a ton of insulin to keep your glucose in range. So if that's the case, you could be diabetic but not showing it on paper, and that's why we get A1C tested. But yeah, that's really the only metric or those three metrics you want to make sure. It's not just you need a six-pack and be shredded and then you can grow. That's really not, I mean, for me at least, it's not the case at all. When I'm down that lean, I feel like shit. I need a good month, 2 months to kind of rebound, come out of that. Hormones are set, I feel better. I don't feel like I have the flu 24/7, and then come back up into a lean bulk per se. But no, you can technically bulk. You could bulk for the next 5 years and maybe a mini cut here and there along the way just to resensitize, make sure that A1C stays in range. And by bulk, I mean eat clean foods, do your cardio, get your training in, so you're burning up a lot of that, I don't know, not junk food, but just excess glucose in the bloodstream, more fatty acid oxidation than you would. So, I mean, the main context of this video is most people need to just add muscle rather than cut down. I know I harp on fat loss, and that's kind of my main approach, but I like to be a little realistic here. Can I help you lose 20, 30 pounds? Yeah, sure, definitely. I can help anybody lose 20, 30 pounds. I'll bet money on that. But most people I get should actually put toward 20 to 30 pounds on first, increase the metabolism, and then be like, all right, now where do we go from here? Instagram makes it look flashy and cool, and all you need to do is lose 50 pounds, and everybody has the muscle underneath the layer of flubber or whatever you've all heard. It's not the case at all. I have pictures. I could put them up here somewhere if I can find them. Or you can just go back way back on my Instagram. But I mean, I pictures at 150, 154. Yeah, did I have a six-pack? Yeah. Was I lean? Did I look like I lifted? Not really. For 6 days of training every week and hours upon hours of cardio, low calorie. Yeah, man, it wasn't worth it. Like I said, I should have stayed at $170 and then slowly gone up from there. And I guess recomped, yeah, slowly recomp into the frame that you want. Yeah, I mean, what was my other talking point here? Where did it go? Well, yeah, I mean, when you're under 25, you have the hormonal output, and your body's processing nutrients at a ridiculous rate. So as you age 30, 40, 50, it's going to slow down. Everything slows down. So 18 to 25, you're primed to put as much tissue on as possible. Muscle maturity 30, 32, 33, 34-ish for guys. But the muscle accrual and the like rapid growth, yeah, that's from 18 to 25. So I've told a number of guys, it's like, listen, this is more of a muscle building conversation than a fat loss conversation here, bro. It's like, do you care about your abs? Yeah, kinda, not really. Okay, cool. Well, what if we put a ton of tissue on and then 2 years from now decided to cut it all down and see what it looks like? Yeah, that sounds better than where I'm at now. All right, sweet, let's go that route. And most of them stay with me as clients, but some of them have parted ways. I'd rather be honest with somebody and set them up for success, especially at a young age, than be like, yeah, give me your money, I'll help you lose 30 pounds. When it's gonna completely set them up for failure, if anything. So yeah, definitely under 25, don't be shredded. You be lean, like if you want to look decent, sure. But don't be doing copious amounts of cardio, low calorie this, low calorie that. Gigantic, I don't call it waste of time. Like genetics, some people need to get real lean to get that insulin sensitivity in check, but for the most part, most of us really don't. I was pretty insulin sensitive even as a fat fuck. So, yeah, I guess everybody should do a, I don't know, little reality check. It's like, is your emotions driving your short-term goals? And should you kind of check that and make sure that your long-term goals and the goals that you've set 5-10 years from now are in line with the micro goals you're doing now? That makes sense. I mean, you want to look like C-Bum. Okay. It's probably going to be a 10-year, 12-year journey for most of us. Some drugs along the way. But regardless, we're going to have to put a good amount of tissue on. So that's going to be our main priority, is just packing on mass and then kind of refining things, cutting things down, tracking stuff, worrying about all that. So I'd say just double check your short-term goals, make sure they're aligned with your long-term goals. And if you do think you need to cut, and are like, hey, maybe you saw into something here, maybe this does make sense. If you even have that thought, please definitely shoot me a DM and go over it. And the worst case scenario, I set you off in a better direction or give you a little clarity on your situation. Well, that's what I'm here for. So, yeah, shoot me a message on Instagram. I answer all DMs on there. But yeah, man, I wanted to make this video just because not only have I gotten this a few times in the last few weeks, I've had a lot of conversations about this, and I don't like to regret anything, but this definitely is one of my biggest regrets. Letting emotions just drive weight loss way too far. We all gotta make mistakes to learn. Some people can't be told. They gotta go through it on their own and then realize, hey, that was pretty shitty. Probably won't do that again. But if you're somebody that's open to advice and like, hey, I'll try this approach, try that approach, see what works, see what doesn't work, definitely take this advice to heart, and depending on where you're at, your situation, whatnot. A lot of times it's our emotions that drive us to want to lose weight and want to get better and leaner and look good. So, yeah, hope that helps. Hope somebody out there is all right, I'm going to focus on the weights, focus on eating, and not worrying about I look in the mirror as much or what the scale's doing or this or that. Just put tissue on and realize that there's always going to be a time for you to get lean and lose weight and get shredded, but there's not really always going to be a time for you to pack on muscle and bulk. You know, there's somebody will argue this, but the 50, 60, 70, you're not putting on a ton of tissue, man, especially if you've done it before. So if you kind of waste your prime time years, you won't get as big as your meant to be or you would have been, or near look as good. So yeah, definitely don't get caught in the cutting trap. So yeah, with that, I'll leave you. I don't know, I'm not a philosopher, but hope somebody got some value out of this one. And I don't know when you guys are watching this, but have a good long weekend if you're watching this before, or enjoy your weekend during, whatnot. But regardless, we will catch you in the next one. Appreciate you guys watching. Peace.